Have you ever been utterly flattened by life? Knocked down? Brought to your knees by something so difficult, so overwhelming that your usual defenses crumbled? Maybe it was a professional failure that shattered your confidence, a health crisis that stole your strength, a betrayal that broke your heart, or simply hitting a personal rock bottom where you felt completely powerless. In those moments, amidst the pain and the rubble, it might feel like God is either absent or perhaps even punishing you. It's easy to question faith, to feel resentment, to wonder why any good could possibly come from such suffering. But the brilliant, witty, and deeply insightful writer G.K. Chesterton had a truly arresting, almost shocking perspective on pain. He didn't see all suffering as a random cosmic accident, nor simply as punishment. He argued, with characteristic paradox, that God often uses the sharp, unwelcome instrument of pain for a very specific, incredibly important purpose, especially for a certain kind of person, the proud. And understanding why he believed this might just change how you view your hardest times forever.
G.K. Chesterton was a towering figure in early 20th century literature and thought, a master of paradox who used common sense and dazzling wit to illuminate profound spiritual truths. He converted to Catholicism later in life, a journey marked by intellectual searching and a deep appreciation for the seemingly ordinary wonders of the world. Chesterton saw the world with fresh eyes, constantly challenging conventional wisdom. And one of the things he observed about human nature, particularly modern human nature, was the pervasive, often subtle power of pride. Now, when Chesterton talked about pride, he wasn't just talking about swaggering arrogance or looking down on others, though those are certainly forms of it. He saw pride in deeper, more insidious ways, as intellectual self-sufficiency, the belief that one can reason through everything and doesn't need mystery or faith, as emotional stoicism that refuses vulnerability or dependence, as a fierce, often unconscious reliance on one's own strength, cleverness, or control to navigate life, believing that one can handle anything alone. Pride, in this Chestertonian sense, is the building of walls around the self, a refusal to admit need, limitation, or dependence on anything outside of one's own capabilities. It's the state of being closed off, elevated just slightly above the messy, dependent reality of the human condition, convinced of one's own essential rightness or ability to manage. Why would God need to save someone from that? Because Chesterton believed that this kind of self-contained pride, while perhaps making a person seem strong or independent on the surface, ultimately leads to a profound form of isolation and blindness. The proud person, encased in their own perceived strength and understanding, is cut off from deeper truths about their own limitations, about their need for grace, about the interconnectedness of all things, and crucially, about their dependence on the divine. Pride makes a person resistant to receiving gifts they haven't earned, acknowledging truths they haven't discovered themselves, or accepting help they desperately need. It's a state of being subtly but fundamentally resistant to grace itself, which often comes in ways that require humility to receive. So, where does pain come in? Chesterton saw pain, suffering, failure, loss, hitting rock bottom, as a kind of divine crowbar, a brutal but sometimes necessary tool used to break through the thick, self-constructed walls of pride. Pain is the undeniable, unavoidable reality that shatters our illusions of control. It's the brute fact that cannot be reasoned away by intellectual pride. It's the emotional agony that cannot be stiff-upper-lipped into submission by stoic pride. It's the overwhelming weakness that renders self-reliance utterly useless. When you're in deep pain, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, your defenses are down. Your usual strategies for coping, relying on your intellect, your social standing, your sheer willpower, your ability to control your environment, suddenly fail. The ground gives way beneath you. In that moment of utter powerlessness, the proud person is stripped bare. The pain screams a truth that pride desperately tries to ignore. You are not in control. You are not sufficient unto yourself. You are vulnerable. You need help. This forced confrontation with one's own vulnerability and dependence is, for Chesterton, the painful, paradoxical path to being saved from pride. The pain doesn't just hurt, it opens a wound in the soul through which reality, humble, dependent reality, can enter. It creates a crack in the fortress of self-sufficiency, and through that crack something new can enter. Humility, vulnerability, a recognition of need, and consequently, the possibility of receiving grace, help, comfort, and even salvation from sources outside of oneself, ultimately from God. Pain saves the proud, not by punishing them for their pride, but by shattering the mechanism of their pride that prevents them from receiving the very things that could truly save them. Things like unconditional love, undeserved mercy, shared humanity, and divine grace. It's a harsh medicine, a terrible surgery, but Chesterton suggested that for the soul encased in pride, it is sometimes the only thing strong enough to break through the shell and allow the light in. It's a difficult truth, a paradoxical grace delivered through unwelcome suffering, but for Chesterton, it was a clear pattern he saw in how God interacts with the human heart, particularly the heart that has built itself up too high.
Now, let's bring Chesterton's sharp, counterintuitive idea home to your own life. It's crucial to say up front, this perspective doesn't minimize the very real suffering you may have experienced or are currently going through. Pain is real and it hurts. This isn't about saying be grateful for your suffering, but it is about offering a framework for understanding how, in the mysterious economy of God, even the worst experiences might be part of a larger, ultimately redemptive process. Think back to a time in your life when you were truly humbled, perhaps by a painful failure, a significant loss, or a personal crisis that left you feeling utterly helpless. Before that moment, were you perhaps a little too confident, too self-reliant? Did you believe, maybe subtly, that you had things under control, that you could handle anything life threw at you, or that your intellect or efforts were sufficient? And then the pain hit. It broke through your defenses. It exposed your vulnerability. It showed you in no uncertain terms that you were not invincible, not fully in control, and that you needed help from others and perhaps from a source beyond yourself. Maybe that painful experience was the moment when you finally reached out to a friend you'd always kept at arm's length. Maybe it was when you started going to a support group. Maybe it was when you, for the first time in a long time, genuinely prayed, not out of routine, but out of a raw, undeniable need. Maybe it was when you stopped trying to figure everything out and simply surrendered to the mystery of not knowing. According to Chesterton's perspective, these moments of being broken open by pain were precisely when you were being saved from the isolation and limitation of your own pride. The pain, as terrible as it felt, created the space for humility to enter, and humility is the fertile ground where grace can land and take root. It's in our brokenness that we often become most receptive to love, compassion, and divine presence. The walls come down, not because we willed them to, but because the pain was strong enough to knock them over. This Chesterton lens challenges us to look at our past and even current moments of suffering not just as random misfortune or senseless cruelty, but with a willingness to ask, what walls did this pain break down in me? How did it humble me?
Did it force me to become more open, more vulnerable, more receptive to help or grace? It's a difficult truth, uncomfortable and counterintuitive. We hate pain, and we often value the strength and independence that can be rooted in pride. But Chesterton suggests that sometimes the path to being truly saved, truly open to life and love and God, runs directly through the heart of our deepest hurts, specifically because those hurts have the power to dismantle the barriers our pride has erected. It's not that God desires our suffering, but that in a world where suffering exists and pride alienates us, He can, and often does, use the former to redeem us from the latter.
Chesterton's idea that God uses pain to save the proud is a striking one, perhaps even controversial for some. It challenges our comfortable notions about suffering and about ourselves. How does this perspective resonate with you? Have you ever experienced a time of deep pain that, in retrospect, seemed to break down a wall of pride or self-reliance in your life, opening you up in unexpected ways? Can you see how hitting rock bottom or facing an insurmountable challenge forced a humility that eventually allowed something good, connection, grace, a new perspective to enter your life? It's a tough truth, but perhaps a hopeful one, suggesting that even in our darkest moments, a deeper, purposeful work might be happening within us. Share your reflections and experiences in the comments below. Let's discuss this powerful idea from Chesterton. If this exploration of Chesterton's thought has given you a new perspective or resonated with your own journey, please give this video a like. Sharing it with others who might be wrestling with pain and faith could also be meaningful. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for more videos exploring faith, life, and the insights of profound thinkers. Thank you for watching and for engaging with this challenging but potentially transformative idea.